Hello everyone, I'm Mike Mareschi from District Council 35, Local Union 1280, presenting the International Finishing Trade Institute's Mobile Elevating Work Platform Training. We're going to go over these two machines behind me.
This course is based on best practices, the OSHA standards, and the ANSI SAIA regulations. You need to remember one thing that's most important. Each one of us is our best advocate for a safe working environment. We're training on these specific equipment models, the JLG 450A boom lift and the GS 2632 scissor lift.
What is important to remember is, after completing this training, with familiarization, you should be able to operate any of these types of machines safely.
As we take this training out to the workforce, you need to remember that each one of these machines, although they may be similar, also have their own differences. For example, on some models of the Type 3 Group A scissor lift, moving the joystick forward brings you up and pulling the stick back brings you down. With others, it's the exact opposite.
With the type of machine that's right behind me, the Type 3 Group B, this JLG, they're notorious for, if I don't have enough keys, and there's 4 machines on site, I have 3 keys, I'm going to start one and pull the key out and start another one. Now, you've gone to work for the day, but if in the unforeseen event of an emergency where you have to rescue somebody, there's no way to turn the key into the base controls. So you've taken longer to rescue somebody with the possibility of minor injury becoming worse or a severe medical situation becoming fatal. So we want to keep all safety aspects regarding all the work we do, but especially with these types of pieces of equipment, we have to keep that is the most important thing, is to work safely using best practices. After spending 42 years in this union, back in 1980, kid, do you know how to run that machine? Somebody throwing the key to me. You drove here, didn't you? Well, what I didn't know then was that there are a lot of differences between an automobile and a scissor lift or a boom lift. Without complete command of the controls, a situation can turn really badly. YouTube anything you want, just YouTube boom lifts and see how many accidents show up. And people will say well, they were dumb or they did something stupid. Well, that was somebody who was untrained and took unnecessary risk. And that risk never pays off. So when you know better, you need to do better. We need to use this equipment as it's intended to be used. We used to access maybe a second floor by using the scissor lift as an elevator. Which requires a whole bunch of different considerations. Access, it's not its intended use. And now I'm leaving the machine. How am I getting out? Am I climbing over the rail? Did I open the gate and climb through the back onto another work surface? That's poor access. It's poor use of the machine. We'll see that a glass company may put a glass package on this.
It can be used with an approved glass package, but that reduces the weight rating of the basket. So you have to take that into account. You need training, and you need to follow that training.
The scissor lift, I've seen that used as basically it was a drywall dolly. Screw a heavy piece of track or stud to the side, and we can lift 5 or 6 sheets. So what happens then? Center of balance. We've upset that. We've moved that center of balance further to the edge, creating an unsafe situation. So there are things that you can be lucky and get away with. It hasn't happened yet, so to say it's never going to happen is, that's a fool would think that way. Plan for a good outcome, you'll end up with a good outcome. Then we need to actually plan the work. For instance, if we have the scissor lift, the Type 3 Group A machine, it has a manual descent. Well, on the same side of that machine is the lower controls for the machine. If I don't plan well and I put the machine, set it up against the wall, that I can't access those 2 devices, the safety devices, the ground controls, and the emergency descent cable. In an emergency, how do I rescue somebody? So maybe it's okay, maybe it works out if you're against drywall and you can break through that drywall. What about if I'm against the CMU wall? Good luck. You need to plan well. Again, you plan well, you execute well.
One of the things you need to do for a Type 3 Group B boom lift is a pre-site inspection before the equipment is delivered to the site. Look for potholes or cracks on the ground surface or road surface. In this case, the condition of the asphalt. Potholes or cracks can of course create a problem for the equipment. Our inspector doing the site walkover in this demonstration is placing cones on surfaces that are unsuitable to operate the boom lift. You'll need to do a site inspection in all areas where you'll be working. Our inspector has checked out the ground surface and marked 2 locations with cones to make sure that we don't drive the equipment over these spots. A wheel could collapse into a pothole and cause a tip over. Not the way you want to start your day. Another element to be careful of when operating a boom lift is the prevailing wind speed. You don't want to use equipment like this on a windy day. Sometimes on the manufacturer spec plate, they'll indicate the maximum wind speed for using the boom lift. Do not exceed the manufacturer recommendations. It's usually somewhere in the range of 25 to 28 miles per hour. You should also check tree clearance if there are trees on your job site. And of course, any utility poles. They may be obstructing your work area, not to mention they may be carrying live electrical current. You need to pay particular attention to curbs and slopes. Like potholes, they can be a sudden tip hazard for your machine. You'll do an inspection of the equipment before you operate it. Make sure that it's safe to use in accordance with the operator's manual, which will list the items to check. Start with the ground control console. Are the switches and levers returned to the neutral position? Decals and placards should be secured and legible, and control markings should be legible. The next items to check are the hydraulic cylinders. There should be no visible damage to any of the hydraulic lines, pivot pins, and hydraulic hoses. There should be no visible leaks of hydraulic fluid. The hydraulic cylinder tank should be full to the black line at the top. The next item on the checklist is the turntable bearing. Look for proper lubrication and no evidence of any loose bolts or looseness between the bearings and the machine. Next, check the swing motor and worm gear. It should be properly lubricated and there should be no evidence of any damage. Next, the auxiliary hydraulic pump. Make sure that all the connections in the hoses are tightened down adequately with no indications of any hydraulic fluid leaks. The next item to check is the platform rotator. Again, you'll do a visual check here to make sure that there are no indications of any damage. Next are the tie rod ends and steering spindles. Look for any indication of structural or mechanical damage. Check the hydraulic piston for oil leakage. Check that all the bolts are tightened down. You should see marks that indicate that the bolts haven't been moved since maintenance was done on the equipment. The wheels and tires should be properly secured, with proper inflation, no missing lug nuts, and no visible damage to tires. Next is the main hydraulic pump. Make sure there are no indications of damage to the pump or any indications of fluid leakage. Next, lower the platform to inspect it. You'll do a visual inspection of the platform assembly and gate. Make sure that all the lock bolts are in place. Make sure the foot switch works properly and that nothing's been modified, disabled, or blocked. And confirm that the gate latch, the stop, and the hinges are all in good working condition, and make sure that all the switches and levers are in the neutral position. The key has to be in the start position, and the toggle switch, which has 2 positions, needs to be activated to start the motor. Now you're ready to check out the ground controls. You'll keep one hand on the engine start switch, and with your other hand, test each one of the toggle switches in both directions to make sure that the boom lift is responding appropriately. When the key position is turned to the pink-colored square, it's only operating as a ground control piece of equipment. When the key position is turned to the blue square, that activates the platform controls. Only one or the other can be selected and operated at any time. They cannot be activated simultaneously. Make sure that none of the warning indicator lights on the top panel are illuminated. There's a decal that shows what each warning indicator looks like. If any warning indicators light up in the top panel, you should not operate the lift until the warning has been checked and the problem fixed. When you're ready to get into the platform and operate the machine, Remember the 3 points of contact rule: 2 feet in a hand or 2 hands in 1 foot at all times. Attach your harness lanyard to the anchor points on the platform, and you're ready to start the machine. For any of the platform controls to work, the foot pedal has to be depressed. It's on a timer, so if you're stepping on the pedal for more than 7 seconds without operating the machine, it'll time out, and you'll have to release it and step on it again to enable the controls.
I'm going to start here in the middle of our control panel. It's a generic message board, and we'll see if the machine's in error. We'll see that here. Moving to my right, we have the, I refer to this as the enable button or the emergency on-off switch. Pull out to operate. We have our start button right here on the right. Then this machine uses 2 fuels, propane for indoors and gasoline outdoors. It's just a flip of the switch. And then we have our enable switch here on the far right, top far right. If I was on the other side of the machine, not facing the direction of travel, I would have to enable this switch to drive or steer, reminding me I was reverse of the forward arrow. Moving down to the bottom, I have my secondary boom for either retract or extend. These 2 are blank because it's a generic panel. Then I have my main boom lift or lower right here. To the left of that is the basket rotate, so I can rotate this platform. And now, this dial determines how quickly or how slowly all of these controls respond to my touch. The secondary boom, lift, lower, swing, left and right, or right and left. Moving to the top, we have the basket tilt. So if I was on an incline, I could level my basket so I'd be standing upright. And the last, second to the last button here is for our rabbit and incline, turtle speed, and high engine speed right here. And then our horn.
On some lifts, the platform will have a safety bar that's across the front panel to prevent a person from being pinched between a fixed object, like a ceiling, and the machine itself. So if the lift is moving and you lean on this or get pinched, the machine will stop. Once you're driving the boom lift, even though you've done a site inspection, make sure that everything is still secure at the site. Are cars moving around? Is there other heavy construction equipment moving around? Of course, you don't want people wandering around the boom lift when you're operating it. Keep this in mind as you move the boom lift into position. If you have a lot of activity going on, you may want to put up a portable fence or cones with flagging tape in the area while you're working. We'll now cover the operator control demonstration for Type 3 Group B boom lift. He's now using the tower lift control to raise the platform. He's now using the platform rotation control to get himself into position where he needs to work. He's now using the main telescope control to extend the platform. Now he's using the swing control to rotate the boom, swinging it around to get it aligned with the roof. Now he has the platform lined up with the building roof. This is just a quick summary of the types of movements the boom lift can do to get you where you need to work. You should practice each movement carefully to get familiar with the machine before you attempt actual work. Every job is different, but these machines are fantastic tools to quickly and safely put you where you need to be. Imagine the difference of having to climb a ladder to get there. When you're lowering the boom and rotating the platform, check again that you have good clearance from power lines or anything else that might be in your way. You've moved yourself into position and perhaps been there working for a while. You may have forgotten what obstacles you avoided on the way up. Not to mention other vehicles that weren't there when you moved the equipment into place. Conditions can change rapidly, so keep your eyes open and your head on a swivel when you're either raising or lowering the platform. That's probably the best piece of advice we can give you. No matter how experienced you are with operating boom lifts, work safely, and you'll go home the same way you showed up to work. Thanks for watching, and be careful out there.